This overview shows the ground paths of various unknown objects that traverse the skies over central Arizona in various locations throughout Phoenix between 8 and 9 o'clock p.m. on March 13, 1997. The object seen by the greatest number of witnesses over the longest period of time was described as a large V-shaped craft similar in shape to a carpenter's square, with wings swept back at a 60-degree angle and squared off ends. There were 5 large lights equally spaced underneath the object and a dome-shaped canopy on top. Tim Lee, a witness living near the Squaw Peak area, created this color illustration that was later featured on the cover of USA Today. Many witnesses described a similar object over 7th Avenue and Indian School Road, then watched it vanish as several fighter jets from Luke Air Force Base approached. After the jets passed, the object reappeared again, then proceeded toward South Mountain. This second craft did not have a dome on top and was observed at a higher altitude. Other witnesses reported seeing a boomerang or V-shaped object with a 120-degree sweep and pointed tips flying over Lake Pleasant and the west side of Phoenix at a high altitude. Airline pilots reported that the object was well above their 18,000-foot altitude. Underneath the object were 6 sets of lights and 3 lights in each set. Another mile-wide V-shaped object with a 90-degree sweep was seen descending towards the approach end of Sky Harbor Airport at an altitude of approximately 1,500 feet. A witness who observed the object less than 300 feet away reported that as it floated by in front of the moon, it appeared to be semi-transparent. There were 4 reddish-amber lights along the leading edges and a red orb trailing behind the object. A 5th object was described by witnesses as a mile-wide black triangle. Some witnesses reported seeing lights and windows, and others did not. This massive black triangle was first observed near Scottsdale and Pima Road, traveling west. Then the object turned south along Interstate 51 and flew over Squaw Peak. It is believed that this particular object was the one former Arizona Governor Fife Symington reported seeing as it traveled south toward Sky Harbor Airport. Another equilateral triangle, estimated to be around 2,500 feet long, had 3 white lights, 1 on each of the tips and 1 red light in the center. Witnesses first observed this triangular craft just north of the Beeline Highway, traveling southeast across Mesa, and was last seen near the intersection of Riggs Road and Power Road in Chandler. The craft then appeared to split into 2 identical copies that traveled away from each other in 2 different directions. Witnesses along Interstate 10 also reported seeing a mile-long black triangle traveling north from Casa Grande to Phoenix. The craft had 3 lights on the nose and 1 on each tip. It is not clear whether or not this particular craft is the same object that flew over Squaw Peak. There were also reports of an enormous white luminescent oval craft, estimated to be a mile long by 3/4 of a mile wide, with amber lights around its perimeter. The object was last seen hovering just above the ridge of the McDowell Mountain Range, northeast of Phoenix. The Phoenix Lights event has become the subject of great debate in the UFO community, primarily due to many confusing facts and myths. First, to avoid any confusion, we need to classify the Phoenix Lights into 2 categories. First and foremost are the lights associated with the March 13th event, seen shortly after 8 p.m. The lights appeared to be fixed to a large V-shaped or triangular-shaped craft. There are varying witness descriptions of different light arrays, patterns, and number of lights, which could suggest the possibility of multiple craft, or a singular craft that changed as it flew across the Arizona skies. Witnesses all unanimously agree that the craft, or multiple craft, were completely silent and flew very close to the ground. One craft was over a mile wide, according to hundreds of documented witness accounts. The second category of Phoenix Lights are the luminescent amber orbs that randomly appear individually in pairs or groups. They can appear together in rigid formation or separated by miles. They do not flicker or emit any smoke trails and remain perfectly fixed in their position relative to each other and the ground. Dr. Lynn personally observed these anomalous lights very close to her mountainside home.
It was startling and it was amazing at the same time. There was nothing there but blackness and these 3 amber orbs, and something told me to take everything in, the size, the shape, the color, the distance. They were about 3 to 6 feet each, depending on how close or far away they were. They were definitely oval shape. And the amber color within each orb, and I call them an orb because the light did not extend outside the edge at all. It was totally self-contained. It was very uniform, amber color.
My wife Fran and I observed these anomalous orbs in November 2005 from a 737 departing Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. It was around 8:15 in the evening, the same time the Phoenix Lights event occurred in 1997. Two amber orbs suddenly appeared out of nowhere in a side-by-side formation. They were visible for about a minute or so, then faded out as three F-16s from Luke Air Force Base flew by. Then the orbs blinked on again in the same location. I studied them intently as our plane made a turn to the northwest. The orbs stayed fixed in their location and drifted back almost out of view as our plane approached the north end of Phoenix. Then they faded out again. I thought this was the end of the show, then suddenly the orbs appeared again, this time in a totally different location far northwest of Phoenix. The same two amber orbs I previously saw over the Australia mountains appeared again in the same side-by-side formation, very bright and distinct from all other light sources. I had a perfect view of them outside my window, and I studied them very carefully until they faded out, exactly the way they did in Dr. Lin's videos. I'm thrilled I finally got to see them for myself, not only for validation, but also to have the opportunity to view them in person and analyze them. They did not appear to be aircraft, flares, or any natural phenomenon. What is most significant is that they appeared identically in two different locations, and I had an incredible bird's eye view on a perfectly clear night. The orbs are a separate phenomenon from what happened on March 13, 1997, which by all accounts was a massive UFO flyover. The orbs are fiercely argued to be flares dropped by the military due to their similar appearance.